Next, as Lin Jing awaited the upgrade of the system space, he had no heart for cultivation and nothing to do, so he could only head to the garden in the yard. It was September, the early autumn season, and the sunlight was no longer as scorching as it had been in July and August. The garden in Lin Jing's courtyard was still lush and verdant, except for the old willow tree by the pavilion, whose leaves had started to yellow slightly. Lin Jing was sitting in the courtyard resting when, thump, 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 there was a knock on the door. Lin Jing got up and walked over. Upon opening the courtyard door, he found that Huang Qingling was standing there. Her shoulder perched the black kite, little Sparrow, who, upon seeing him, looked away, apparently still angry about the morning's events. "Qingling, how come you're here?" Lin Jing asked, puzzled. As soon as Huang Qingling saw Lin Jing, she started to complain. "What did you get back? I thought you'd wait for me to return together. I only found out you were already back after asking Elder Yu." While speaking, she walked past Lin Jing into the courtyard as if returning to her own home. "I've been back for a while already. Weren't you going to see Elder Bai? I thought you had some important business, so I came back first," said Lin Jing as he closed the courtyard door. Then he followed her inside. Next, Huang Qingling took 3 peaches out of her storage bag and handed them to Lin Jing. "Here, these are immortal peaches grown in the high-grade spirit fields, really tasty, and they're full of spiritual energy. Eating them can even increase your cultivation a bit. I specially swiped them from Old Man Bai." Lin Jing was somewhat speechless as he looked at the immortal peaches. He remembered that these peaches were usually reserved for entertaining important guests, and now Huang Qingling had swiped them so casually. However, after giving it some thought, Lin Jing let it go. Snatching anything under a golden core cultivator's nose is nearly impossible. It seemed likely that Old Man Bai knew about this and deliberately let Huang Qingling take them. This showed how indulgent Elder Bai was towards his niece. In that case, Lin Jing wasn't going to be polite. He took the immortal peaches from Huang Qingling's hands. But just as he did, a black shadow dashed out, grabbed an immortal peach, and ran off. The black shadow was none other than the black kite, little Sparrow. After stealing an immortal peach, little Sparrow circled over Lin Jing's head before flying to the top of the rockery and crowing once. Scream! Lin Jing was helpless. Little Sparrow's speed was comparable to that of a golden core cultivator, and catching her was definitely impossible. "It seems I need to find time to give it a proper lesson," Lin Jing thought to himself, watching little Sparrow's swagger. "Little Sparrow!" Huang Qingling suddenly roared, as the immortal peach she had just given away was snatched by her own pet. This made her feel quite embarrassed. Upon hearing the roar, little Sparrow suddenly shivered and then obediently returned the immortal peach. It appeared that Huang Qingling's anger still held a lot of sway over little Sparrow. At this moment, Lin Jing spoke up. "Qingling, I can't eat so much by myself. Since little Sparrow wants to eat as well, let's just split them. We can each have one now," he said. "We've already had some at Yiyuan. These are to thank you for the feast you made for me. I specifically brought these for you," Huang Qingling replied. "My cultivation is low. Eating just one will take me a long time to absorb. You being in the foundation establishment stage should eat more," Lin Jing continued. After speaking, regardless of Huang Qingling's objections, he pushed an immortal peach into her hand. "Catch, little Sparrow." Lin Jing then tossed the immortal peach that little Sparrow had returned to her. Little Sparrow caught the immortal peach and looked at Huang Qingling. Huang Qingling said helplessly, "Since I've already given it to you, go ahead and eat." Screech! Little Sparrow let out a sharp cry, picked up the immortal peach, and flew to the top of the rockery to start nibbling on it. Meanwhile, Lin Jing and Huang Qingling sat in the pavilion of the small courtyard, also nibbling on immortal peaches, looking utterly content. After finishing the immortal peach, Lin Jing suddenly spoke up. "By the way, Qingling, did you come to see me for some reason?" Huang Qingling swallowed her last bite, casually tossed the peach pit aside, and then said, It's like this, Old Man Bai, and Elder You're coming over tonight, and I specifically came to tell you to prepare." Lin Jing turned his head, looking at Huang Qingling with confusion. Why would they come now? I met Elder Yu today, and he didn't mention this. Oh, it was me who called them. After saying this, Huang Qingling continued to speak. You've been busy with alchemy recently, and it's been so long since I've had a meal cooked by you. I've been thinking about it for days. Huang Qingling chuckled. Just so happens, old man Bai was free today, so I called them both over. Lin Jing immediately understood. Huang Qingling was craving his cooking. I haven't prepared any ingredients. Isn't it a bit late to go out and buy them now? Did they mention when they would arrive? Lin Jing asked. Don't worry, I prepared the ingredients a long time ago. Huang Qingling said, opening her storage bag and taking out an array of ingredients. They probably won't be here so quickly. We've got enough time, and I can help too. Okay, Lin Jing nodded. In her previous visits, driven by curiosity, Huang Qingling had also spent quite some time in the kitchen. Although she hadn't really learned to cook, she was still able to lend a hand with the simpler tasks. First handling the ingredients, the two then started bustling about in the kitchen. In the midst of this, a system notification sounded in Lin Jing's mind. Ding! The upgrade of system space is complete. System space is now available for entry. However, given the inopportune timing, Lin Jing didn't pay it any mind and continued working. Another half an hour passed, and evening gradually fell. With the cooking done and the dishes served, they were just waiting for Elder Yu and Old Man Bai to arrive. Soon after, knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking came from the door. They're here, Huang Qingling called out and ran toward the door. Opening the courtyard door, there stood Elder Bai and Elder Yu. Old Man Bai, Elder Yu, you've finally arrived. We've got everything ready, and we're just waiting for you two. I wouldn't be surprised if Lin Xiaoji is busying himself while you're slacking off, Elder Yu teased with a chuckle. I rather think so, Elder Bai chimed in. You two are underestimating me. I helped out quite a bit today, Huang Qingling said with dissatisfaction. At this moment, Lin Jing also came over. Elder Bai, Elder Yu. Come in, please. Lin Jing greeted them with a bow. All right. The two nodded and then walked inside. As they all took their seats, Old Man Bai spoke to Lin Jing. Lin Xiaoji, those elixir medicines you submitted today looked good to me, especially those few supreme elixirs. I believe it won't be long before you can become a second-rank pill master. Many thanks for your high regard, Elder Bai. Lin Jing bowed his hands in respect. Elder Bai waved his hand, continuing to speak. Furthermore, I've recently heard quite a few rumors about you. Pay no mind to them. They wouldn't dare to go too far. As long as you become a second-grade pill master, they will naturally shut their mouths. What Elder Bai referred to were naturally the other offering priests at Ubela. Because Lin Jing was a first-grade alchemist, there were many rumors about him, but most were not too friendly. As for the reason behind taking Lin Jing under their wing, perhaps as a form of protection, Elder Bai and Elder Yu did not reveal this to the outside. Elder Bai, it's fine, let them talk. I just need to concoct my elixir medicine properly. In this regard, Lin Jing was indifferent and too lazy to explain anything to anyone. Come, Elder Bai, Elder Yu, try today's dishes. Qingling also lent a hand, and we've been busy for quite a while. Qingling even helped? Then I must give a try, Elder Yu said with a laugh. After which, Elder Bai also picked up a morsel of food and began to taste it. All right, there's another matter. Having just taken a couple of bites, Elder Bai continued to speak. The day after tomorrow, someone's going to hold a banquet at the Drunken Immortal Pavilion, and you should both attend. A banquet? Lin Jing questioned. Even Huang Qingling, who was constantly chewing on her food, raised her head to look at Elder Bai, evidently unaware of this event. A banquet? What's the occasion this time? Huang Qingling swallowed the delicacy in her mouth and asked with curiosity. This time, it's because the young master of the Li family has successfully advanced to a third-grade alchemist. The Li family has specially reserved the entire Drunken Immortal Pavilion to hold a grand banquet in celebration. They've invited many members from various families within the Fong market, which includes quite a few famous pill masters. The young master of the Li family, isn't that Li Tongyu? I remember him. Didn't we meet him the last time you took me to the Li family? Huang Qingling recalled, speaking to Elder Bai. Yes, that's him. Elder Bai nodded. Li Tongyu. As Huang Qingling mentioned this, Lin Jing also began to remember. Wasn't it the man who gambled with him at the black market not long ago? Back then, he seemed to be on the verge of advancing to a third-grade alchemist, and now he has finally made the breakthrough. Lin Jing then spoke up. Elder Bai, I don't need to go, do I? After all, those attending the banquet are all important members of the various families within the Fong market, as well as alchemists of the second grade and above. I am neither of these. You should come as well. At that time, you can follow Elder Yu, attending under the name of his junior. It will be good for broadening your horizons. Elder Bai said. Huang Qingling quickly chimed in after Elder Bai. Yes, do come along. You can join me when it's time. I'm not very familiar with him either, and if you don't go, I won't feel comfortable without anyone familiar by my side. All right then. Seeing that both Elder Bai and Huang Qingling insisted, Lin Jing found it hard to refuse and therefore nodded his agreement. Subsequently, everyone continued. Until late at night, when they had all dispersed, Lin Jing cleaned up. He then entered the system space once again, instantly feeling the rich spiritual energy. The concentration of this spiritual energy was even greater than before when he was in Elder Bail's room. Open the system panel. Eager to proceed, Lin Jing immediately opened the system panel and began to check. System space, level 3. Remaining time, 28 hours. Accumulatable, 300 hours. Host, Lin Jing. Spirit field area, 30 mu. Spiritual energy concentration, 3-time flow rate, 3. Daily entry time, 6 hours. Upgrade requirement, 2 out of 2,000 harvest points. Special functions, alert, observation, accumulative time. New features, 4 seasons timing, environmental landforms, 4 seasons timing. The system space activates the 4-season system, operating according to real-world patterns, which the host can change at will. Environmental landforms. The host can freely change the terrain and environment within the system space or the spirit field to adapt to the survival needs of various spirit plants. The environment and terrain can be changed. Lin Jing silently pondered. I've got to try this. With that thought, Lin Jing called out to the system. System, how do I change the seasons and weather? Master, please specify the desired season and weather, and the system will adjust them automatically for you. Spring, light rain. Lin Jing thought for a moment, then blurted out. Soon, the weather in the system space changed, becoming much more mellow, followed by a gentle breeze. At the same time, a light rain began to pour down from the sky. In the rain, the spirit plants in the spirit field swayed gently, accompanied by the breeze, a sense of spring burgeoning forth. Lin Jing took a deep breath. This was indeed the scent of spring. After feeling it with his heart for a moment and looking at the ground beneath his feet, Lin Jing pondered for a while. System, change the terrain to mountain peaks. Yes, master. Then the terrain began to change. The ground beneath Lin Jing's feet slowly turned to stone, and high elevations began to rise unevenly. Of course, the spirit field was an exception. The ground inside remained as soil, with the spirit plants still growing vigorously. The terrain spread, transforming the entire system space into rocky terrain. In the distance, the edge of the system space even turned into a sheer cliff, and the air became thinner still. However, the transformation was not over yet. After the terrain had changed, clouds and mist also started to rise and spread within the entire system space. At that moment, Lin Jing felt as if he were standing inside an immortal palace. Lin Jing stood there, closed his eyes, and felt for a while. Then he spoke. System restore. Subsequently, the system space changed once again, reverting to its original state. Ding! Warning, demonic beasts have intruded into the alert perimeter. Please respond promptly, host. Just as Lin Jing was still lingering over his previous experience, a system alert interrupted his enjoyment. Lin Jing's mouth twitched, and he thought to himself, no doubt, it's little Sparrow again. Every time after the gatherings in the middle of the night, it would always come looking for food. This time, I need to have a good look. Activate observation mode. Lin Jing commanded directly. Following that, the point of view rose and observation mode activated. Lin Jing switched to observation mode, his gaze following into the kitchen, where he caught sight of a dark figure rummaging around. Isn't that little Sparrow? At the moment, its small eyes were full of confusion. With its current intelligence, it probably couldn't understand why Lin Jing could always bring out many delicious items upon entering this room, whereas it found nothing when it entered. Lin Jing watched little Sparrow searching around in the kitchen and was quite speechless. Actually, he didn't really mind little Sparrow coming over. Now, it wouldn't attack Lin Jing, but was just looking for something to eat. However, it always came in the dead of night and managed to trigger a system alert each time. This caused Lin Jing to be easily distracted during alchemy. And even, there were 2 occasions where little Sparrow's system alert led to the failure of what would have been a successful elixir medicine because Lin Jing got distracted. Therefore, this matter must be resolved. Afterwards, Lin Jing began to furrow his brows in thought, looking for a solution. It didn't take long for Lin Jing to think of something, and then he slapped his forehead. Right, let's do that. Exit the system space. With that, Lin Jing left the system space with a smile on his lips. Upon leaving the system space, Lin Jing took out a piece of cooked meat from his storage bag, an extra portion from his cooking earlier in the afternoon. Then, he pushed open the door and walked out. Little Sparrow, busy in the kitchen, heard the noise and hurriedly flew out, trying to escape. Little Sparrow, Lin Jing called out. At the same time, he shook the cooked meat in his hand. The little Sparrow that had wanted to flee stopped in its tracks at the sight of the cooked meat, its eyes widening as it transformed into a black shadow and pounced towards Lin Jing. Lin Jing was already prepared for it. As soon as it made a move, he put the cooked meat back into the storage bag. Squee! Little Sparrow let out a shrill cry, clearly displeased with Lin Jing, and landed across from him with a huff. Don't worry. The roast meat is for you to eat, but if you plan on snatching it, be careful. I might tell Taoist Qingling that you sneak out to steal every night. Lin Jing knew it could understand him, so he threatened. Hearing this, the little Sparrow kept its distance from Lin Jing. Let's make a deal. As long as you don't sneak in here anymore, I'll show you a great place where you can eat delicious food every day. Not if you understand. After hearing this, the little Sparrow nodded its head like a pecking chicken. Then come over here, and I'll tell you. The little Sparrow edged closer, and Lin Jing then spoke. In 2 days, Taoist Qingling and I will go to a wonderful place with lots of tasty things. Lin Jing spun a captivating tale, and the little Sparrow drooled with anticipation. Seeing that he had successfully tricked the little Sparrow, Lin Jing tossed the cooked meat to it. The little Sparrow dived and caught the meat, then flew away. Remember, the day after tomorrow. Lin Jing called out a reminder while the little Sparrow flew off with the meat, disappearing from view. On the 3rd morning, as the sun climbed high, Lin Jing finally woke from meditation. Checking the time, it was just about right to leave. Huang Qingling, who had agreed to come over and accompany him, strangely hadn't shown up yet. Lin Jing gathered his things and left the courtyard, heading towards Huang Qingling's residence. Knock, knock, knock. Arriving at the entrance, Lin Jing knocked on Huang Qingling's door. Before long, the courtyard door opened. Lin Jing saw Huang Qingling looking haggard and seemingly tired. Taoist Qingling, what's wrong with you? You seem not to have rested well, Lin Jing said in surprise. It's all because of little Sparrow. Huang Qingling glanced at the black kite on his shoulder, his eyes filled with grievances. For some reason, it was restless all night, preventing me from meditating peacefully and even from resting properly. Lin Jing looked at little Sparrow, which was unusually excited now, and even the gaze it cast at Lin Jing was different from before. Could it be because of what happened the night before last? Lin Jing eyed little Sparrow, muttering to himself, but kept a calm expression and said, Taoist Qingling, we should be going. Huang Qingling nodded and replied, All right, just wait a moment. I need to get ready. After finishing her words, Huang Qingling went into the yard. It wasn't long before Huang Qingling came out again, this time dressed differently and having tidied herself up a bit. Now, she looked much better than she had before. Readnovel.com. Afterward, the two set off toward Ubala. Upon arrival at Ubala, Elderby and Elder you were already waiting there. After the four met, they walked together toward the Drunken Immortal Pavilion. During this time, Elderby also noticed something was off about Huang Qingling. After asking about it, he learned it was because of Little Sparrow and decided not to say much more. However, Elderby unintentionally glanced at Little Sparrow, making the initially excited pet suddenly feel like it had been doused with a bucket of cold water, quieting down significantly. Arriving at the Drunken Immortal Pavilion, Lin Jing looked up to see a 5-story ancient-style building come into view. The exterior was adorned with carved dragons and phoenixes, exceptionally luxurious, and it looked extraordinary. As the largest pavilion in Fong Market, the Drunken Immortal Pavilion, naturally, could not be compared with other pavilions. Not only was it beautifully decorated, but the culinary skills of the immortal chefs inside were also unquestionably superior. Any dish that came from their hands was extraordinarily delicious. And that wasn't all. They could even prepare feasts that increased one's cultivation. This was unique in the entire Fong Market. The group arrived at the entrance of the Drunken Immortal Pavilion, where someone from the Li family was already there to greet them. The one leading the way was an old man with a robust spirit. "Old man Bai, you've finally arrived. You've made me wait quite a while. That's it. I'll have to make you drink as a penalty later," the old man said to Elderby with a smile. Elderby also went forward, sizing up the old man. "Elder Masterly, looking quite spirited, I see." At this point, Elder Yu turned back and whispered to Lin Jing. "This is the backbone of the Li family, the only 4th-grade pill master in Fong Market, Elder Masterly. At the same time, he is also a Golden Core Immortal." Having said that, Elder Yu stepped forward to greet Elder Masterly. Real personally, Lin Jing and Huang Qingling followed behind, clasping their fists and saying, "Grandfatherly, real personally, Pill Master Yu. I heard that not long ago you crafted a flawless detoxification elixir and even saved a descendant of the Wu Si." "Aye," Elder Masterly said with a smile. "Not bad at all. It seems that your comprehension of the alchemy Tao has greatly increased, Pill Master Yu. You're probably not far from the 4th grade now." "Real personally, you jest. On the path of alchemy Tao, I have much to learn from real personally," said Elder Yu humbly. Elder Masterly nodded. "Attitude is very important on the way of alchemy Tao. I believe one day you will undoubtedly advance to become a 4th-grade pill master." After speaking, Elder Masterly looked toward the two behind Elder Yu. "What's wrong with niece Qingling? Why do you look so listless?" "Thank you for your concern, Elder Grandfather. I just haven't had good rest, but we'll be fine with a bit more rest, so there's no need to trouble Elder Grandfather," Huang Qingling spoke up. At that moment, Elderby let out a sigh. "This is because I got her a pet, and that thing has too much energy. It wore her out." "Are you talking about that black kite?" Elder Masterly looked toward the obediently perched Little Sparrow on Huang Qingling's shoulder. "Of course, if I knew it would be such trouble, I wouldn't have kept it in the first place," Elderby said, his eyes full of satisfaction as he looked at Little Sparrow, betraying no hint of regret. Seeing Elderby like this, Elder Masterly couldn't help but twist his mouth. "Old man Bai, don't pretend to be regretful after taking advantage. When you first subdued that black kite, you didn't hold back from showing it off to us. Such a spiritual pet can accompany its master for a lifetime. Moreover, its combat power is not weak. If one finds a way to nurture it further, it may very well advance into a golden core demonic beast. This is akin to having a golden core expert protect you at all times. Where else can you find such a fine pet?" Elder Masterly looked at the Little Sparrow on Huang Qingling's shoulder with immense envy. Then, turning his head, he looked at Elder Bai with undisguised contempt in his eyes. "I despise this about you, acting all coy when you've got an advantage." Having said that, Elder Master Li's eyes twirled, and suddenly he let out a sly chuckle. "If you don't want it, you could give it to me, you know. I wouldn't mind." It just so happens my grandson has advanced to a third-grade pill master, and I have no gift for him." After speaking, Elder Master Li rubbed his hands together. Wishful thinking. Elder Bai rolled his eyes, ignoring him. Elder Master Li wasn't offended. It seemed the two were used to this sort of exchange. Afterwards, Elder Master Li turned his attention to Lin Jing. "And who might this be?" Lin Jing bowed again and said, "Greetings, Elder Master Li. My name is Lin Jing." Elder Yu quickly replied, "This is a distant nephew of mine, Lin Jing." "Oh, a young talent. Excellent, excellent," Elder Master Li said with a smile. Just then, a young man in splendid attire came out of the gathering hall and, upon seeing the group, hurried over. Li Tongyu, the main person of interest for the banquet, was the one approaching. "Elder Bai, Elder Yu." Upon arrival, Li Tongyu quickly bowed, paying his respects to Elder Bai and Elder Yu. Elder Bai looked at Li Tongyu with admiration. Very good, very good. Old man Li, your Li family boy has become a third-grade alchemist at such a young age. He's truly extraordinary." He then mockingly said to Elder Master Li, "I remember you advanced to a third-grade alchemist when you were over 60, right? This boy will surely surpass you in the future." Elder Master Li shook his head. No, I'm old now and can't compare with them. The Li family will be up to these young folks from now on. At most, I'll use these old bones to help them as much as I can." "Indeed, we've all grown old," Elder Bai followed with a sigh of lament. While Elder Bai and Elder Master Li were chatting, Li Tongyu approached and greeted Huang Qingling. "Sister Qingling, you're here too." Huang Qingling still appeared listless and responded with just a word. Li Tongyu, as if accustomed to her demeanor, said nothing more. "May I ask who this is?" Li Tongyu inquired, looking at Lin Jing. "Elder Yu's distant nephew, Lin Jing," Lin Jing repeated, following Elder Yu's earlier introduction. "So you are Lin Daoyu. Pleased to meet you," replied Li Tongyu. Just as Li Tongyu had finished greeting all three, Elder Master Li suddenly said, "Never mind all that. Why bring it up and ruin the mood? Let's go. Old man Bai, let's go inside." After speaking, Elder Master Li turned to Li Tongyu and said, "Tongyu, please take Elder Yu, the pill masters, and the others inside." "Certainly, grandfather. Rest assured," Li Tongyu replied. Then, Li Tongyu turned around and beckoned to the three. "Elder Yu, Sister Qingling, and Lin Daoyu, please follow me." Ahead of the others, Li Tongyu led the way into the Drunken Immortal Pavilion. After the three entered, they didn't pause, but followed Li Tongyu straight upstairs. Upon reaching the second floor, Lin Jing saw many familiar faces. Among the people on the second floor, several were pill masters serving as offering priests at Yubela. Lin Jing even saw Yiyuan and the Wang surnamed alchemist among them. But then Lin Jing realized that this banquet itself was held by the Li family in honor of Li Tongyu. As the only alchemy Dao family in Fong Market, it was natural for the Li family to invite these reputable alchemists from the market to grace the occasion. Therefore, it was not surprising that an offering pill master from Yubela appeared here. However, Lin Jing and his group did not linger on the second floor, but were directly led by Li Tongyu to the third floor. Just after Li Tongyu led several people upstairs, a commotion broke out on the second floor of the Drunken Immortal Pavilion. "Isn't that Lin Jing? How did he get up to the third floor?" An alchemist who recognized Lin Jing exclaimed in surprise. "Yes, he's with Elder Yu. Could it be that he has some connection with Elder?" "That's hard to say," someone said, frowning. "No wonder he became the offering pill master of Yubela, as just a first-grade alchemist. It turns out there's such a relationship behind it." At this moment, an alchemist sitting on the second floor with the surname Wang looked at Lin Jing with an incredulous expression. Yiyuan, who was beside him, looked puzzled and asked him, "Wang Daoyu, I haven't been in this Fong market for long and don't understand very well. May I ask, what is the significance of the third floor of the Drunken Immortal Pavilion? Why is it that when Lin Jing goes up to the third floor of the Drunken Immortal Pavilion, all of our colleagues have such a reaction?" The alchemist with the surname Wang turned his head and said to Yiyuan, "You probably don't know, but the 5 floors of the Drunken Immortal Pavilion are quite particular. Would Wang Daoyu please enlighten me? Yiyuan asked with cupped fists. Ahem. The alchemist with the surname Wang cleared his throat and explained. The Drunken Immortal Pavilion is split into 5 floors. From top to bottom, they correspond to the different identities and statuses of people within the Fong market. First off, the 5th floor, needless to say, is reserved for those nascent soul cultivators. It's hardly ever open. The 4th floor, then, is eligible for golden core cultivators, heads of the major clans in the Fong market, and some sect leaders to access. Next is the 3rd floor. Although the 3rd floor does not compare to the 4th, not everyone can go up there. Basically, only descendants of major families or heads of the major commercial firms in the Fong market can go up. In short, being able to go up to the 3rd floor indicates that the person has a certain status within the Fong market. Then, there's the 2nd floor where we are, which probably doesn't need further clarification. Yes, Yiyuan nodded. The last is the 1st floor, which is where the other cultivators can go. So that's how it is. No wonder. Having said that, Yiyuan glanced toward the 3rd floor. Upon reaching the 3rd floor, the 3 followed Li Tongyu's guidance to take their seats. After settling them in, Li Tongyu greeted the 3 and then continued with his busy work. The banquet had not yet started at this time, so the 3 sat there waiting for a while longer. Not much later, Li Tongyu returned, bringing along an old man and a youth. As the 2 approached Elder Yu and greeted him, they walked towards them. Lin Daoyu. Elder Yu. Elder Yu stood up, replied with cupped fists. Zhang Daoyu. Lin Jing and Huang Qingling also stood up. Then he said to the 2 people behind him, "This is an elder from the Zhang family in the Fong market. It's sufficient to call him senior." Zhang Senior. Zhang Senior. Lin Jing and Huang Qingling said, bowing with their hands. The Zhang family patriarch looked at the 2, nodded his head, then smiled and said, "This young lady must be Elder Bael's niece, right? She is truly lovely." "Yes, she is Qingling," Elder Yu confirmed with a nod. After the Zhang family patriarch spoke, he then looked at Lin Jing, and this. "He is a distant nephew of mine," Elder Yu said. "Not bad, quite the handsome young man," commented the Zhang family patriarch with a nod. "Let's not bother with him," he said. "Come, take a seat." Subsequently, they both took their seats. Once seated, Elder Yu spoke again. "I've been hearing some rumors recently. How is the Zhang family patriarch faring these days? Could it really be as the rumors suggest?" The Zhang family elder shook his head and furrowed his brows with a heavy sigh. "Alas, the situation isn't great. Although it's not as bad as the rumors outside suggest, our old ancestor probably won't last much longer." Elder Yu also sighed. "Alas, it's such a pity. Your Zhang family patriarch is truly a remarkable figure of his generation. He has inspired so many people. I hope you can find the lifespan extension pill soon." After Elder Yu finished speaking, both men fell silent. Then, many more people came over. The atmosphere became livelier, unlike the earlier somberness. Since most of these people knew each other and had dealings with one another, they took advantage of the moment before the banquet began to mingle. Elder Yu took the reluctant Huang Qingling to meet people from various families. After all, as Elder Bai's niece, Huang Qingling was not only talented, but also remarkably beautiful. She was well known among the children of these families, and many had taken a liking to her. If it weren't for Elder Bael's consistent refusal, those old folks would have shamelessly sought a good match for their sons a long time ago. Huang Qingling felt helpless about this. Even though she had never shown a pleasant face to those people, she still couldn't stop their enthusiasm. But she couldn't very well make a scene, so she had no choice but to follow Elder Yu in greeting the elders of the various families. Even the Zhang family elder did the same, taking the young man of the Zhang family with him. So, only Lin Jing and Little Sparrow were left at the table. No, one person and one eagle. "Little Sparrow, come here," Lin Jing called out in a low voice. Little Sparrow looked up at Lin Jing and then walked over with a hint of wariness. "Don't you want to eat something delicious? Let me tell you, this place has the most." Lin Jing leaned in and whispered to Little Sparrow. As little Sparrow listened to Lin Jing's tale, her eyes rounded and brightened. Remember, you must come back at midnight, go to their kitchen, and make sure you don't get caught. While Lin Jing spoke, he kept glancing around to ensure no one was paying attention to them before he relaxed. After a while, the banquet began, and they all returned to their seats. However, Lin Jing's instigation had already been carried out, and now he sat there as if nothing was amiss, very obediently. The banquet started quickly and ended just as swiftly. Most of these people weren't particularly interested in the delicacies, their main goal being to strengthen relationships and foster goodwill among the various families. Of course, it was different for Lin Jing's group. With Huang Qingling and Little Sparrow present, not a single dish brought to the table was wasted. Everything went into their stomachs. This left the somewhat dull-looking young man of the Zhang family in a constant state of amusement. Clearly, the ideal image of Huang Qingling in his heart had shattered. The banquet ended quickly, because Elder Bai and the other Golden Core cultivators still had matters to discuss. So, Elder Yu took Huang Qingling and Lin Jing to leave first. Walking on the way back, Huang Qingling frowned and said, "I'm never coming to this kind of event again. It's just too exhausting. Luckily, that annoying guy didn't show up today, or I really fear I would lose control and beat him up." Having said that, Huang Qingling also complained to Elder Yu. "Elder Yu, you said that when you initially prepared the pure detoxification elixir, this undesirable situation arose. I'm guessing it won't be long before he recuperates from his injuries and starts pestering me again." Elder Yu naturally knew who Huang Qingling was referring to, but as these were matters between the younger generation, as long as they weren't too excessive, it wasn't appropriate for their elders to intervene. Since we all reside in the Fong market and their family has extended an invitation, it wouldn't look good if I didn't attend. Moreover, Elder Bai agreed to this. Besides, he continued, it's not like I have control over whether a pure elixir medicine is created or not. I know. Huang Qingling sounded slightly downcast. After speaking, she looked towards Lin Jing. "Lin Jing, you've got it easy, just sitting there waiting for the banquet to start, not having to do anything, nor deal with these vexing matters." Lin Jing spread his hands helplessly, replying, "Qingling, you jest. I'm not really supposed to be here. I'm just basking in your light this time." Hearing what Lin Jing said left Huang Qingling momentarily at a loss for words. Suddenly, she turned to Lin Jing and asked, "What did you tell Little Sparrow? Why do I feel that Little Sparrow is even more excited since our return than she was last night?" Lin Jing felt embarrassed, as the things he'd told Little Sparrow were absolutely not meant for Huang Qingling to know. Little Sparrow was flying freely above Huang Qingling's head until she heard her words. Instantly, the bird shuddered, landed obediently on Huang Qingling's shoulder, and stayed there quietly. Lin Jing glanced at Little Sparrow before speaking again. "Qingling, you worry too much. What could I possibly say to Little Sparrow? You know full well what Little Sparrow's attitude towards me is, don't you, Qingling?" Little Sparrow cooperated too. "Tweet." With a sharp chirp, she glared at Lin Jing, then turned her head away, refusing to look at him again. "Is that so?" observed Huang Qingling skeptically as she watched the duo. However, after watching for some time and discovering nothing, Huang Qingling put the matter out of her mind. Then, she went over to where Elder Yu was. "Elder Yu, I just heard many people discussing the Zhang family. What exactly happened to them?" asked Huang Qingling with curiosity. "It's really nothing serious, simply that the lifespan of the Zhang family. Patriarch Zhang Chenfan is nearing its end. He will pass away soon. Falling of a golden core cultivator is quite a common event, right?" Huang Qingling asked, puzzled. Hearing this, Lin Jing realized it was a secret related to golden core cultivators. With his curiosity piqued, he hurriedly walked forward, hoping to listen in. "You are too young to be familiar with the Zhang family patriarch, which is quite normal," said Elder Yu. He looked up at the sky, then sighed deeply. Zhang family patriarch, Zhang Chenfan, is indeed a legendary figure. A legendary figure? How so? Huang Qingling moved closer, pricking up her ears to listen attentively. Elder Yu turned his head, glanced at Huang Qingling and asked, "Do you know what realm the Zhang family patriarch reached, and what kind of spiritual root he possesses?" Huang Qingling spoke directly. "I've heard them say that the Zhang family patriarch has reached the mid-stage of golden core cultivation." After saying this, she tilted her head, thought for a while, and added, "To cultivate up to the mid-stage of golden core, he must at least have a 3-attribute spiritual root. It's tough for someone with a 4-attribute spiritual root to advance to become a golden core cultivator without some special serendipity." Lin Jing nodded in agreement after hearing her explanation. Huang Qingling was not wrong at all. The more mixed a person's spiritual root, the slower they cultivate. If a single attribute heavenly spiritual root's cultivation speed is 10, then for a 5 elements mixed spirit root, which is all 5 properties, the cultivation speed is at most 1. Indeed, the disparity is that large. Because a person's spiritual root is limited, the more attributes it has, the poorer its quality, and correspondingly, the slower their absorption of spiritual energy. Those with a sole attribute heaven spiritual root, on the other hand, have no such concerns. They have extremely high-quality spiritual roots, easily sensing the free-floating spiritual power between heaven and earth, and absorb it at an exceedingly fast rate. Just take, for example, Lin Jing, because of his spiritual root, could not sense any spiritual energy at all in the sparsely energized outskirts of Fong Market, making it impossible for him to cultivate. Therefore, when he was in Fong Market, the main way for him to progress his cultivation was through the pure elixirs he refined himself. The rest of the time, it was only in the system space that he could slightly improve. Others, even cultivators with 4 spiritual roots, could feel a tiny bit of spiritual energy in Fong Market and thus enhance their cultivation. Next, there's another point. The better the spiritual root, the fewer resources are consumed during cultivation. For someone like Lin Jing, with a 5 elements mixed spirit root, even in the rich spiritual energy of system space, his improvement in cultivation was still incredibly slow. Finally, when it comes to breakthroughs in cultivation, the better the spiritual root quality, the easier the breakthrough. On the contrary, the poorer the spiritual root, the harder it is to achieve a breakthrough. Especially during advancement in rank, those cultivators with poor quality spiritual roots find it even more difficult. "You guessed wrong," Elder Yu said, shaking his head after listening to Huang Qingling speak. "Not so." Huang Qingling frowned slightly, then affirmatively said, "Then it's like me, with a dual attribute spirit root." Looking at Elder Yu again, he remained silent, continuing to shake his head. "Elder Yu, don't tell me that Zhang family patriarch is the legendary heaven spiritual root," said Huang Qingling, her face full of astonishment. "After all, that is a heaven spiritual root, not seen in the Naming domain for hundreds of years." Elder Yu shook his head again, sighed, and said, "Forget it, you won't guess it. I'll just tell you. Actually, Zhang family patriarch spiritual root is the worst kind, the 5 elements mixed spirit root. 5 elements mixed spirit root." Huang Qingling exclaimed, astonished that a golden core cultivator with 5 elements mixed spirit roots was more surprising than one with a heaven spiritual root. Lin Jing was equally shocked. Upon hearing that Zhang family patriarch possessed a 5 elements mixed spirit root, he quickened his pace in surprise to walk alongside Elder Yu, eager to hear the tales of this legendary figure. 5 elements mixed spirit root. Isn't that the legendary useless spiritual root? How could one cultivate to the golden core stage? Asked Huang Qingling, puzzled. Elder Yu looked at Huang Qingling and said, "That's why I said Zhang family patriarch is a legendary figure. To be able to cultivate to the golden core stage with the spiritual root quality of a 5 elements mixed spirit root, he's the only person I know who has managed that." At that moment, Lin Jing suddenly spoke up. For a 5 elements mixed spirit root to cultivate to the foundation establishment stage is already a blessing. To reach the golden core stage is even more so. Elder Yu, does he have some miraculous fortune? Elder Yu shook his head and answered, "I'm not very clear on that. There has been such speculation, but it's just hearsay, and Zhang family patriarch has never openly acknowledged such a thing. What speculation? Huang Qingling's eyes lit up as she moved closer and hastily asked. Some say that he once obtained a miraculous fruit which allowed him to cultivate to the golden core stage with the quality of a 5 elements mixed spirit root. But this claim was only briefly circulated and lacks any evidence to prove that Zhang family patriarch ever consumed such a fruit. Miraculous fruit? What is that? Huang Qingling asked Elder Yu. Lin Jing had not heard of miraculous fruits either and quickly leaned in to listen attentively. Miraculous fruit? Elder Yu looked up and then gazed toward the horizon, slowly beginning to speak. That is something that can enhance a cultivator's spiritual root aptitude. To enhance spiritual root aptitude. This time, not only Huang Qingling, but also Lin Jing cried out in astonishment. Indeed, Elder Yu said, you must all know that the more numerous and diverse the spiritual roots, the poorer the aptitude. We know. And Huang Qingling both nodded in response. Elder Yu looked at them again and continued to explain. Take, for example, the 5 elements mixed spirit root, which is a low-grade spiritual root. The progress in cultivation is extremely slow, and many sects won't even recruit such individuals. While a triple attribute spirit root is generally considered a superior spiritual root, its cultivation speed is league beyond that of the 5 elements mixed spirit root. You're probably also aware that the attributes of the spiritual root are fixed from birth and cannot be changed. If a person is born with the 5 elements mixed spirit root, then they will be stuck with that for their entire life. Lin Jing and Huang Qingling both continually nodded. But, while the attributes of the spiritual root cannot be changed, the grade of the spiritual root can. The function of the reversal of fate fruit is to enhance the grade of the spiritual root, raising a low-grade spiritual root to a medium grade, or even a superior one. That way, even though the 5 elements mixed spirit root still combines 5 types of attributes, its cultivation speed will greatly improve, becoming comparable to cultivators with quadruple attribute spirit root, or even those with a triple attribute spirit root. The reversal of fate fruit, is that amazing? At this point, Huang Qingling was agape with amazement. Lin Jing was also unable to hide the excitement in his heart pounding fiercely. Elder Yu curled the corner of his mouth and said, otherwise, the purpose of the reversal of fate fruit is indeed to defy the heavens and change one's fate, isn't it? You know, whether you have a 5 elements mixed spirit root, or a heavenly spirit root, or even exotic spirit root. You can take the reversal of fate fruit to further improve your spiritual root's aptitude and cultivate faster. Upon hearing this, Huang Qingling's eyes sparkled with excitement, looking toward Elder Yu. Where can I find this reversal of fate fruit? I want to pick a few. You might as well forget about it, said Elder Yu with a twitch of his lips. The last time the reversal of fate fruit appeared was 1,000 years ago. Do you think the reversal of fate fruit is so easily obtained? Don't be so naive. But didn't the Zhang family patriarch, Huang Qingling, attempted to argue? That is just a rumor, and it has not been confirmed, Elder Yu interrupted. Furthermore, the Zhang family patriarch has never acknowledged the matter of the reversal of fate fruit. I was hoping to get a few and try them out. A few? Elder Yu looked at Huang Qingling with an exasperated expression. Elder Yu continued, you need to understand that the reason why the reversal of fate fruit is incredibly precious is that it usually only grows in various secret realms or places rarely visited by humans, and it's extremely rare in the outside world. Moreover, it takes 1,000 years to mature, and even then, it only bears a single fruit. Additionally, each person can only consume one reversal of fate fruit. So that's how it is. With a sigh, Huang Qingling fell silent, looking down, seemingly lost in thought. Lin Jing did the same, head lowered, pondering about the reversal of fate fruit. Afterward, the 3 of them walked together a bit further, but as Elder Yu had to return to Yubela, he parted ways with the 2. After the banquet, Lin Jing's life once again settled down into tranquility. Unknowingly, the weather turned cooler, and as the autumn days passed by one after another, The flowers and plants in Lin Jing's courtyard changed from lush green to withered yellow, including that flourishing weeping willow that lost its leaves day by day. Until over 3 months later, when winter came once again, dressing the earth in silvery white and covering it with a snow-white quilt. That morning, Lin Jing had just finished refining elixir medicine and came out of the system space, stretching himself lazily outside the house. Looking at the snow-covered ground, he noticed that the fish pond had also frozen over with a thin layer of ice, yet the fish inside swam about as if nothing was amiss. It was then that Lin Jing, as if suddenly feeling something, abruptly looked up at the sky. A dark shadow appeared in the distance, flying towards this direction, getting closer and closer. Finally, the shadow landed not far away, in Huang Qingling's courtyard. The dark shadow was none other than Little Sparrow, but what puzzled Lin Jing was why, today of all days, it had gone out during daylight. Could it be that something happened? It shouldn't be that greedy, right? Thinking about the recent events, Lin Jing couldn't help but murmur to himself. Lately, Little Sparrow had been causing quite a bit of trouble in Fong Market. Ever since that talk with it, Drunken Immortal Pavilion started experiencing theft the very next day, losing nothing but some prepared ingredients. Since these items weren't of much value, no one paid much attention at first. Only when more items went missing did people start to become vigilant. So, after going out one night, Little Sparrow returned very early. No one knew what had happened that night at Drunken Immortal Pavilion. Since then, Little Sparrow hadn't visited Drunken Immortal Pavilion again. And since no one came looking for trouble with Little Sparrow, Lin Jing stopped paying attention to the matter. Little Sparrow had been relatively well-behaved for a while. However, before long, it started up again. This time, it didn't target Drunken Immortal Pavilion, but began to raid other pubs and restaurants within Fong Market. Soon, rumors of a nighttime hungry thief spread throughout Fong Market because Little Sparrow was too fast for anyone lying in wait to catch. As a result, Little visibly gained weight during this period. I was lost in thought. Knock, knock, knock. A sequence of knocks on the door echoed. Lin Jing walked over and opened the courtyard door. There stood Huang Qingling, fuming at the entrance, but Little Sparrow was nowhere to be seen on her shoulder. I'm so angry. Huang Qingling stood with a face full of anger, holding a bright red, glossy apple, and viciously took a bite. Then, while munching, she walked into the courtyard, and when she reached Lin Jing's side, she seemed to pull out another equally red apple from nowhere and placed it in Lin Jing's hand. "What's wrong, Taoist Qingling? Who's upset you today?" Lin Jing asked, puzzled. Who else could it be but that Little Sparrow? As Huang Qingling said this, her mouth was puffed out in annoyance, looking very endearing. However, Lin Jing felt guilty inside and couldn't bring himself to look. Could have been exposed. Lin Jing couldn't help thinking to himself. Then, Lin Jing tentatively probed. What's happened to Little Sparrow again? Wasn't it always fine? Look, it's even put on weight recently. And that's all thanks to you, Taoist Qingling. Huang Qingling let out a cold laugh. How could not get fat? I only found out today that the infamous late-night hungry thief rumored in Fong Market was none other than Little Sparrow. No wonder no one can ever catch it. With its speed, unless a golden core immortal makes a move, who could possibly catch it? The nighttime thief was Little Sparrow. Lin Jing feigned surprise. Only his expression seemed a bit unnatural. However, Huang Qingling was too engrossed in her story to notice Lin Jing's expression. Isn't that so? I talked to you about the nighttime thief just the other day. Who would have thought that the thief was right by my side? Lin Jing looked at Huang Qingling and asked, So, Qingling, what are you going to do now? Are you taking Little Sparrow to apologize? Huang Qingling shuddered at the thought of such a scenario after hearing Lin Jing's words. Forget it. Let's not. How about I go to Old Man by this afternoon and let him handle this matter? Lin Jing thought for a moment and said, That seems good. By the way, where's Little Sparrow? Lin Jing hadn't seen Little Sparrow come over yet and was very curious, because Little Sparrow always shadowed Huang Qingling closely. As long as Huang Qingling came over, it wouldn't be long before little Sparrow would appear. It's in solitary confinement right now. After such a big incident, how could I not punish it? Huang Qingling took a bite of an apple and said fiercely, "Air. Okay." Lin Jing felt a bit guilty. He couldn't help but think to himself, it's good as long as they don't find out it was I who instigated it. Fortunately, little Sparrow can't speak. There are many things it can't express. Otherwise, I would be exposed. I'm sorry, little Sparrow. Lin Jing could only silently pray for little Sparrow in his heart. Just then, Huang Qingling suddenly turned around and leaned in close to Lin Jing, staring right at him. Startled by the sudden attack, Lin Jing jerked in fright, looking up at the Huang Qingling who was very near, and hurriedly said, "Qingling, what's the matter? Did I do something wrong?" Huang Qingling stared at Lin Jing and said, "Also, didn't I tell you last time not to call me Qingling? It doesn't sound nice at all." "It's a habit, a habit," Lin Jing said with an embarrassed smile. Huang Qingling sighed and said, "Forget it, call me whatever you want." "All right, Lin Jing, I haven't eaten your cooking in such a long time. I'm upset because of little Sparrow today, and I want to eat your cooking. Is that okay?" "Of course, no problem," Lin Jing agreed immediately. After all, her mood isn't good, and I have a part in it too, so I should make some sort of compensation, Lin Jing suggested. "Then shall we go out and buy some ingredients first? After all, I'm completely unprepared here." "Okay." Huang Qingling immediately put the issue with little Sparrow out of her mind and agreed cheerfully. Then, the two of them left the house and headed for the inner farm market. After making a round through the market, it was almost noontime by the time they returned. Lin Jing also started getting busy in the kitchen. On the way, Huang Qingling had gone back briefly and lifted little Sparrow's confinement. During a break from cooking, Lin Jing saw little Sparrow, who had fattened up a bit and was drooping its head, being scolded by Huang Qingling in the courtyard. Even when Lin Jing walked past it, it had no reaction. Soon enough, the meal was ready. "Qingling, it's time to eat," Lin Jing called out to Huang Qingling, who was still in the courtyard. This meal, Huang Qingling ate with utter delight. Even little Sparrow was stuffed with 2 large chunks of roasted meat, which was its favorite. Given that little had suffered some grievances, Lin Jing naturally couldn't neglect it. Seeing how well treated little Sparrow, Huang Qingling's eyes twinkled, and she spoke up. "Lin Jing, I see you and little Sparrow have a quite good relationship. How about this?" Lin Jing lifted his head, looking towards Huang Qingling, a face full of confusion. "How so?" "From now on, you'll make food for little Sparrow, so it won't run out again. Otherwise, if it gets caught by someone again and sent back to me, I'd have no face to meet them." Lin Jing couldn't help but laugh and cry. "Qingling, my friend, it's not that I don't want to, but I have to practice alchemy daily, and I really don't have that much time to spend in the kitchen." "I know that," she said. "You only need to set aside a little time each month. Just preparing 4 or 5 meals will do." After saying this, Huang Qingling quickly added, "And I'll provide the ingredients." "Qingling, my friend, to tell you the truth, is it that you want to eat?" Lin Jing asked suspiciously, gazing at Huang Qingling. Huang Qingling's face turned red, and she hummed in a low voice. The reason Huang Qingling did this was because she used to often visit Lin Jing for a free meal, and Elderby had found out and lectured her. Since then, she realized it was inappropriate and felt embarrassed to come and disturb Lin Jing so casually. "All right." Seeing Huang Qingling's demeanor, Lin Jing couldn't bear to refuse and said helplessly. Huang Qingling smiled very happily. "Hee, I knew it. Lin Jing, you're the best. Don't worry. If you cook for me, I'll have your back in Fong Market. Nobody will dare to mess with you." Lin Jing responded with a hum and didn't really take it to heart. After the two had finished eating, Huang Qingling had to find Elderby to deal with the issue of little Sparrow stealing food, so she left first. And Lin Jing packed everything up and continued with his alchemy. Lin Jing seldom practiced alchemy in the outside world, and even the alchemy room behind his house was used only a few times by him. Fortunately, his system space had been upgraded to level 3, allowing him to enter for 6 hours a day, and with the time flow speed tripled, he had 18 hours a day. Now, he didn't have to worry about not having enough time. In the afternoon, Huang Qingling returned. From her account, Lin Jing learned. It turned out that little Sparrow had previously been caught stealing at Drunken Immortal Pavilion, but the person who caught it recognized it as Elder Bai's gift to Huang Qingling, scolded it, and then let it go. Elder Bai also knew about this incident, but to them, such matters were trivial. Elder Bai didn't even tell Huang Qingling. Regarding the later incident of little Sparrow stealing food again, Elder Bai's response was very direct. If little Sparrow gets caught, we admit it. If it doesn't get caught, what's there to admit? After hearing what Elder Bai said, Huang Qingling was speechless and didn't know what to say. After all, except for the Drunken Immortal Pavilion, which had a golden core cultivator stationed there capable of capturing little Sparrow, it was unlikely that any other tavern or restaurant could catch it. So, the matter was laid to rest, but still little Sparrow was warned by Huang Qingling and was forbidden to go out and steal food at night again. After all, she didn't want to find herself having to personally apologize one day if little Sparrow were to be caught. Although little Sparrow was very fast, as the saying goes, better safe than sorry. Having told Lin Jing about the incident, Huang Qingling took little Sparrow and left. And so, another 2 days passed. Today, Lin Jing had just finished his cultivation practice and opened his eyes. Calculating the time, it was just about right. Lin Jing got out of bed, opened the door of his room. Even though it was nighttime, outside was still a brightly lit expanse of white. Sigh. A bone-chilling cold wind, mixed with white snowflakes, blew against Lin Jing's body. The cold invaded in an instant, piercing through his clothes and worming its way inside. Lin Jing quickly circulated his cultivation technique, and only then did he dispel the chill. The agreed deadline of 1 year with another person was about to arrive, and the elixir medicine needed by the cultivator selling the hidden dragon pendant of the Azure Moon had been fully gathered by Lin Jing. Tonight, he was ready to head to the black market to fulfill the transaction set 1 year ago. However, before Lin Jing could even step out of the house, a shadow flew in. Lin Jing turned his head to look. The shadow was little Sparrow. In little Sparrow's beak was a lively big fish still jumping around, but there was no telling where it had come from. Little Sparrow, didn't Qingling tell you not to steal anymore? How come you went stealing again? Little Sparrow opened its beak and shook its head. The fish fell to the ground, flopping incessantly. Lin Jing looked at the live fish on the ground and said, "Do you want me to cook it for you?" Little Sparrow's eyes lit up, and it bobbed its head vigorously. Just then, a crisp and clear voice came. "Little Sparrow." Before the voice had finished, a beautiful figure flew over, directly blocking little Sparrow inside the house. "Qingling, did you follow it here?" Lin Jing asked, looking at the beautiful figure. The person who had just flown in was Huang Qingling. "Lin Jing, I'm really sorry to trouble you. This late at night, right after my meditation, I discovered it was gone." Then Huang Qingling glared at little Sparrow. "Thankfully, I was clever enough to place a tracking mark on it from before, otherwise, with my speed, I would have lost it long ago." Seeing Huang Qingling arrive, little Sparrow's head drooped down on the spot. "Aren't you coming with me?" Huang Qingling bellowed, and little Sparrow could only obediently fly to her side. Even the fish on the ground was left behind without a second thought. Seeing this, Lin Jing also felt somewhat sympathetic. "Forget it, seeing it's so pitiful. With food already brought here, let's just cook it for it," he said. Upon hearing this, little Sparrow's eyes brightened, and it chirped. "Tweet." It then began flying around Huang Qingling. "Lin Jing." Huang Qingling was a bit embarrassed. "You really are troubling yourself for us." "It's okay," Lin Jing said with a smile. Then he suddenly asked, "By the way, where did this fish come from? After I reprimanded it last time, it didn't dare to steal food anymore." "This fish was caught from the river inside Fong Market," she explained. "It's learned to catch fish now," Lin Jing said, in surprise. "I just found out today, too," Huang Qingling responded, looking at little Sparrow helplessly.rewabove.com. "Qingling, please take a seat. I'll just deal with this quickly. Fish doesn't take long to cook, unlike other dishes, Lin Jing said, then picked up the fish and headed for the kitchen. Before long, a delicious-looking grilled fish was served. Lin Jing placed the grilled fish on the table. Just as Little Sparrow was about to pounce on it, Lin Jing stopped it. "Little Sparrow, let's get one thing straight. You can't come bothering me at night anymore. If you want me to cook for you, it has to be in the daytime, when I'm not busy," he stated. "And another thing, if you want me to cook something for you in the future, you need to bring something else in exchange. You must understand the principle that benefit comes from effort. Moreover, you can't just steal from others as you please. It might cause trouble for Qing Ling," Lin Jing continued. "Do you understand?" Lin Jing said sternly, looking at Little Sparrow, who cocked its head as if deep in thought. Afterward, Little Sparrow actually nodded its head. Little Sparrow could understand human speech, Lin Jing knew. But what he had just said was rather complex. Whether Little Sparrow truly comprehended Lin Jing's meaning was something he wasn't sure of. Next, Lin Jing didn't trouble it further and let it eat. Despite its small size, Little Sparrow ate with astonishing speed. In no time at all, Little Sparrow had finished eating and then followed Huang Qingling away. After Huang Qingling left, Lin Jing waited a while longer before he set out again. As soon as the tide of demonic beasts had ended, the inner Fong Market's grand formation had been shut down. The announcements previously released by the marketplace had also been long canceled. Now, just like before, those from the outer marketplace could freely enter and leave the inner Fong Market. However, there were still not many people remaining within the inner Fong Market at this time. Having exited the inner Fong Market, Lin Jing walked toward the edge of the marketplace. Before long, he arrived at Shiyu Lane, the very place where he had agreed to meet Wei Zhengqing for the first time when he entered the black market. However, it had been a long time since he last visited, and the alley had undergone significant changes, almost making Lin Jing think he had taken a wrong turn. The alley no longer bore its previous shattered appearance. Row upon row of courtyards were neatly arranged. If one looked closely, it wasn't difficult to discover that these courtyards must have been recently renovated. There were even several households where lights shone from within, making it clear that people were living there. Lin Jing took a few more steps inside, and only then saw that the courtyard where the teleportation array used to be had also been renovated, and that a faint light was visible from inside. It seemed that the entrance here had been abandoned. Otherwise, it shouldn't be inhabited. Lin Jing shook his head, feeling helpless, and then turned around to leave. Next, he returned to Yiyuan gambling house and knocked on the door. Just like before, a man answered the door and let him in. The gambling house was as bustling and brightly lit as always, with the cultivators inside indulging themselves just as mortals would. The only difference was that while mortals gambled with gold and silver, cultivators gambled with spirit stones. Lin Jing passed through the gambling house and exited through the back door, where he saw Yubela, adorned with large red lanterns. Yubela was also the same as before, unchanged, except that its entrance was obscured by curtains, hiding the scene within. Lin Jing walked forward until he arrived next to the narrow path leading to the teleportation array and stepped onto it. After walking for a while, he reached a small bamboo grove. The grass around it was overgrown and had turned yellow, and even inside the bamboo grove, the ground was fully covered in fallen leaves. It looked as though no one had been there for quite some time. But this place had always been like this, rarely visited by anyone, so Lin Jing didn't pay it much mind. He walked in and swept aside the accumulated leaves on the ground, but failed to find the formation. Looking down carefully, he could still see traces where the formation once was on the ground, though they had grown somewhat indistinct. It seemed that this formation had been dismantled some time ago. This is already the second one. Lin Jing frowned and walked back outside. Having not visited the black market for a long time, Lin Jing was unaware of the recent events there. And he didn't know why, but the teleportation arrays leading into the black market seemed to have all been dismantled. Lin Daoyu, just as Lin Jing stepped out of the small path, a person came walking toward him and called out to stop him. Lin Jing looked up and recognized an acquaintance. It was the talisman master who had moved into the house opposite his own after the Zhang family brothers had died. Since Lin Jing hadn't interacted much with this person before, he couldn't recall his name upon seeing him again, but he did remember that he was a talisman master. You forgot? It's me, Wunya. With that reminder, Lin Jing suddenly remembered. Wu Daoyu, how come you are here? Lin Jing asked. Wunya joked. Look at how Lin Daoyu talks. You really are a noble who easily forgets things, aren't you? I met you once before at the Yiyuan gambling house in Fong Market. Have you forgotten that? I'm just idle. Came here to reminisce. With that said, Lin Jing remembered that past event, which Ningyu had also misunderstood. Wunya walked over and directly began speaking. The beast tide back then was fierce, and the outer Fong Market was breached. I was in the inner Fong Market at that time and escaped that disaster. After the beast tide passed, I especially went back to look at that alley where we lived. The occupants facing me had all changed. I originally thought that Lin Daoyu had perished at the jaws of the demonic beasts. To see that you're still alive, it's really great. Wunya chattered on, clearly very excited. Lin Daoyu, do you know? I have finally settled down. I used to help people make talismans in the inner Fong Market, and because I did well, a talisman master took notice of me and exceptionally took me as a registered disciple. Let me tell you, my master is quite powerful. He is not only a second-grade talisman master, but also an offering priest for Yubela. It was also fortunate that during the beast tide, I was helping the master in the inner Fong Market, and that's how I avoided the disaster of the beast tide. Would you call that coincidence, or what? At this point, Wu Nye seemed even more animated, probably because he hadn't had someone to talk to for a long time. Finally, meeting an acquaintance, he felt compelled to share. Congratulations to you then, Lin Jing said. Wunya, please, replied. Haha, I'm just a bit luckier, that's all. After speaking, Wunya sized up Lin Jing and then asked, what about you, Lin Daoyu? Your courtyard has new people. Did you move somewhere else? Yes, I moved to a different location. Lin Jing responded briefly, without elaborating further. I see. Wunya pondered for a moment, then continued. That makes sense. During the beast tide, the rents were too high. For low-level cultivators like us, it was simply unaffordable, so moving to the outskirts of Fong Market is better. In Wu Nye's mind, he probably assumed that Lin Jing couldn't afford the rent, and thus gave up that courtyard, which led him to move to the outskirts of Fong Market. But, Lin Daoyu, you don't have to worry. The beast tide has been dealt with, and now, even living on the outskirts of Fong Market is fine. You just need to be a little careful when you go out. I've heard that the outskirts of Fong Market are quite dangerous, especially at night. There are people who specifically target and kill low-level cultivators. Very dangerous. It's not like the inner Fong Market, where there's a guard team patrolling, so there's no need to worry. Wu Nye cheerfully said. After finishing, he added a word of caution. Lin Daoyu, you must be careful. I know. Lin Jing replied succinctly, without providing much explanation. Next, Wu Nye looked at Lin Jing and winked, continuing. Lin Daoyu, you didn't come down this path to go to the Yiyuan Tower, did you? As he spoke, he leaned in closer, shrinking the distance between them. Lin Jing frowned and took a step back. However, Wu Nye didn't notice and whispered, You're heading to the black market, aren't you? There's no need to rush to defend yourself. I only found out after following Master that there is a teleportation array leading to the black market behind the prosperous Yiyuan gambling house. Lin Daoyu, when you came here before, it must have been to enter the black market, right? I had thought you, like me, had an appreciation for the pleasures of this place. Having said this, Wu Nye then took a black token from his person and showed it to Lin Jing, saying, Now, I too have a black market token and can enter the black market. After that, Wu Nye put away the token and continued. However, it seems Lin Daoyu you haven't been to the black market for quite some time. Why do you say that? Lin Jing asked, puzzled. Wu Nye began to explain. The teleportation arrays in this area were almost completely destroyed due to the beast tide. So the Fong Market took down these arrays and moved them elsewhere. Around here, there's not a single teleportation array left. If Lin Daoyu wants to go to the black market, you can only leave this area and head for other arrays. Then, Wu Nye patted his chest. and said, "Of course, if Lin Daoyu doesn't know where the other teleportation arrays are, I can take you there. Thank you for the reminder, but there's no need to trouble Wu Daoyu." Lin Jing declined Wu Nie's kind offer. Afterward, the two exchanged a few more words, and Lin Jing took his leave. He didn't go looking for other teleportation arrays, but instead returned directly to the inner Fong market. The next evening, Lin Jing went out again and finally found a teleportation array, through which he entered the black market. As before, Lin Jing donned a broad-brimmed hat and made his way into the depths of the black market. Upon arriving at the entrance, the rules of the black market were still the same. After paying with spirit stones, Lin Jing entered. He first made a round inside, but did not find the person selling the hidden dragon pendant of the Azure Moon. However, Lin Jing was not concerned, for he had previously mentioned that he would only visit the black market every few days. Perhaps he had just come a day before. Next, Lin Jing rented a stall and began setting up. Like before, Lin Jing put out a pure elixir medicine, placed it on the stall with a sign, and started selling. Perhaps because the beast tide had caused so many to leave, there were fewer people entering the black market than before. Until the pre-dawn sky began to brighten, and it was nearly time to light up, Lin Jing had only sold one elixir medicine and was getting ready to close up his stall. Since he was waiting for a transaction, Lin Jing was not in a hurry. Seeing that the person had still not come, Lin Jing simply packed up and left the black market. In the days that followed, he would visit the black market every day. At first, Lin Jing was not anxious. But then, with the second visit, the third visit, the fourth visit to the Fong market, and still not having seen that person. After that, several more days passed. Lin Jing waited another 2 days and then went to the black market twice more, still with no sign of that person. Could it be that he perished in the beast tide? Lin Jing could not help but mutter to himself. That night, much time had passed since the agreed-upon date, and several days had already elapsed. Lin Jing looked out the window, contemplated for a while, and decided to go one more time. If that person failed to show up again, he would let it be. Afterward, Lin Jing left his residence. Entering the black market, Lin Ling, as ever, made a round first. However, as he walked, it was at that same spot from before that Lin Jing saw the familiar sign, lifting his head. Wasn't it the same stall owner who had sold the hidden dragon pendant of the Azure Moon before? And there it was, the hidden dragon pendant of the Azure Moon displayed on the stall. Lin Jing's heart leapt, and he approached. "Fellow Taoist, you truly made me wait." The cultivator replied, "Fellow Taoist, I am truly sorry. I was injured before and have been recuperating until now, making you wait for a long time." Cough, cough. After finishing, he coughed twice, obviously not yet fully recovered from his injuries. Then, regardless of his own condition, he hurriedly asked, "Fellow Taoist, have you gathered all the elixir medicines?" Lin Jing nodded in response and continued, "Otherwise, I wouldn't have come here specifically to wait for you." "That's wonderful." The vendor was excited. "Vendor, I see that this jade pendant is quite nice. May I know what function it has? Would you sell it to me?" Just as Lin Jing and the vendor were talking, a voice interrupted them. Lin Jing found the voice somewhat familiar and turned to look, only to see 2 people walking towards them. One of them, a young man dressed in a Taoist robe and wearing a look of arrogance, was actually someone Lin Jing recognized. "It's actually him." Lin Jing was a bit surprised to see the person. This individual was none other than the Foundation establishment cultivator with whom Lin Jing had a history, Yiyuan. Looking at him now, he seemed to be completely unharmed. Wasn't he supposed to rest and recuperate for a while? How come he has recovered so quickly? Lin Jing thought to himself. Previously, he had been accidentally bitten by a flame poison variant and was severely poisoned. It was only due to the detoxification elixir refined by Elder Yu that he was saved. However, even after taking the detoxification elixir to expel the poison, fully recovering was not something that could happen swiftly. Elder Yu had also mentioned this before. Lin Jing guessed that perhaps the Wu Kai Immortal had found him some other medicinal pills. The vendor looked up at Yiyuan and then shook his head, saying, "I've already made arrangements with someone for this jade pendant, and I won't sell it to anyone else. Besides, this jade pendant only has a concealing feature. It cannot be used for attack or defense. Considering the distinguished status of this young master, you should not need it." Yiyuan chuckled lightly and retorted, "Vendor, you are wrong there. As long as the jade pendant is still displayed on the stall, it means it can still be sold. What do arrangements matter? Whoever offers more money naturally gets it. How much did your arranged buyer offer?" "I will offer 20% more than he did." While saying this, Yiyuan turned his gaze to Lin Jing, sized him up, and looked disdainful before turning his head back to the vendor. It seemed that he thought Lin Jing, judging by his attire, couldn't possibly be the person who had made the arrangement with the vendor. The vendor shook his head, looked at Yiyuan, and said, "Fellow Taoist, the price he is offering, you probably can't afford." Yiyuan was provoked into laughter. "I refuse to believe that within this Fong market, there's anything that the Liu clan cannot afford to buy. Come on, tell me your price." The vendor did not continue to argue with him, but instead said to Lin Jing, "Fellow Taoist, please could you step aside and let him have a look at that plaque?" Only then did Lin Jing realize he had been blocking the vendor's plaque. Lin Jing then stepped back a couple of paces, and Yiyuan turned to look. Upon seeing the contents on the plaque, Yiyuan was taken aback. 3 pure foundation building elixirs, 3 pure accumulation pills, 10 premium foundation building elixirs, 20 premium gathering Yiyuan pills. Have you lost your mind? Are you really planning to trade this jade pendant for pure elixir medicines?